How concerned do you think we should be about vaping?
We should be very concerned. So when it comes to smoking or vaping, there's the thing that's being consumed, the thing that people are trying to put in their bloodstream, nicotine, cannabis, et cetera. And let's just set those aside. I've done episodes on nicotine and cannabis, and they have their application. They also have their problems. Vaping is terrible because of the other chemicals that it delivers to the lungs. It's also very clear, and we haven't released this episode yet, but I talked to a female hormone doc from Austin, Natalie Crawford, so OBGYN. Vaping is associated with disruptions in egg health, and what they call egg quality can create certain mutations in eggs, and serious endocrine issues in women. Okay. Personally, I find it disgusting. Like, I just find it I don't do it, but when I see people vaping, to me, and listen, I used to, when growing up, I quit smoking a long time ago, but I used to smoke a bit of nicotine growing up. Remember, I was a wild one, but that's not why I did it. Nicotine works for me as a drug, and I don't do it anymore. But vaping is so addictive. It's a mutagen. It mutates the genes of cells. It mutates the genes of rapidly dividing cells most. So breast cancers, ovarian cancers, egg quality, sperm are constantly turning over. So, people always say, no, well, I vape all the time and I got so-and-so pregnant or whatever. Women will say, I have a perfectly healthy kid. That kid might've been much healthier. And also the kid's not grown up yet. Introduce me to the kid later. I wish for that kid. I pray for them, but that they're healthy as can be. But it is so clear that you're introducing a laundry list of toxins to the lungs, and they're getting into the bloodstream, and there are a number of them that cross the blood-brain barrier. And once they cross the blood-brain barrier, those neurons, by virtue of the fact that neurons don't turn over across the lifespan, you're born with the ones that you're going to die with. You might add a few across your lifespan, but you're mostly born with the ones that you're going to die with. Well, they're going to harbor those chemicals and those particulates. And yes, we have grandparents that smoked and lived to be 90, but those are generally the outliers. So I can't find one good reason why people should vape. If people want nicotine in their system that badly, and here I'm not recommending that, they would be much better off relying on a troche or a patch.
Yep. Because or whatever.
Or even toothpicks or injectable. I know people, I'm not going to out anyone.
Inject nicotine.
Oh, I'm not going to out anyone here, but I know people in our podcast community that rely on nicotine injections for mental clarity.
That is so hardcore.
Yeah, I don't. It causes elevation in blood pressure. It causes vasoconstriction, but it also will robustly increase focus and attention, as any smoker will tell you.
Mainlining nicotine.
Yeah, you're starting to see some companies that offer things like NAD infusions also offer subcutaneous or nicotine injections.
Going back to
patch or gum. Yeah.
Smoking for a very long time, everyone knows. Huge campaign, which I think was pretty effective, actually, at kind of discouraging people from smoking, or at least making them aware about the...
Do you remember how they got kids to stop smoking? They told them for years it was bad for their health. That didn't work. They told them that it was putting money in the pockets of these these old cackling white guys that were rubbing their hands up in the boardroom and making a ton of money, and then it became the rebellious thing to quit smoking. That was the effective campaign.
So I think about this all the time, that there was a big push to both disincentivize and make more difficult smoking. You got to go outside. There's the smoking area. Mm-hmm. I remember I worked in clubs for 1 year before the smoking ban came in the UK, and then people had to go outside. Just friction all the way down, and then vaping came in. And vaping is way more enjoyable of an experience than smoking ever was. You can have a higher dose of nicotine that tastes, enjoyable, bubblegum flavor and raspberry unicorn dust and whatever. I don't know. And it's not going to stink the house out. You don't have any of the externalities of that. So I wonder whether we have ended up in a net benefit or net cost for public health from switching from smoking to vaping.
Yeah, there's an analog here with, kratom and opioids.
Dude.
If you really want to, we just got to put ourselves under attack by even bringing up the topic, but I did it intentionally. There are things like smoking and opioid addiction, it's unequivocal. It's just terrible, right? It crushes lives, destroys lives. Yes, there are those rare individuals who smoked their whole life, lived into their 90s, and okay, but they are outliers. So the question is vaping allowing fewer people to smoke and therefore improving their health? Maybe, if they're hell bent on getting that nicotine or cannabis into their system and they're opting not to smoke and they're going to vape instead, then maybe we have to be objective and say, okay, if they are absolutely intent on getting it in through some inhalation device, vaping is probably better, but we don't know that for sure. We actually don't know that. And then since I brought it up, and I really put the target on myself with this one, you know, I did a post about kratom, which is over the counter. People will say it's not an opioid. It taps the opioid system. It taps other systems as well. And a number of people have indeed managed to get themselves off of opioids using kratom as a bit of a bridge, kind of like the methadone heroin thing. But the kratom advocacy groups are really growing strong right now because there is the possibility that kratom will be made illegal in the not too distant future. And there is the reality that some people who were never opioid addicts have taken kratom and then get addicted to kratom.